This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Helping you find emotional, spiritual, and physical balance. What does your future hold? It's time to find out with Psychic Suzanna.
This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Now you can find us at psychicsuzanna.com or 1110kfab.com, where you will find all the shows that we have ever played, all those you want to research and listen to again. Please join us on Facebook at Life with Psychic Suzanna, where you find out what's coming on the show ahead, and also Susanna Stickney to find out what's going on in the world with me. And I try to give you one exciting thing a day. Right now, though, this is going to be an exciting interview because this is February, and what does everybody think about in February? We think about love. And so today we are going to talk to Arielle Ford, who wrote the Soulmate Secret. Welcome to the phones, Arielle.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm totally blessed. Arielle, out of curiosity, do you believe everybody has a soulmate?
I do. I believe we all have many, many soulmates. In fact, my definition of a soulmate is that it's first and foremost somebody you can completely be yourself with, somebody with whom you share unconditional love, and when you look into their eyes, you have the feeling of being home.
So that could be family also.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so our family, our soulmate. How about the romance soulmate? Do we all have one or more romance soulmates?
I believe we have over 1 million opportunities to have romantic soulmates. And yes, I don't know who started the rumor that we each only get one big love in a lifetime, but it's not true.
Not true. I understand that. Not true.
Yep. And so regardless of how many relationships you've had, how many have gone wrong in the past, there is a huge possibility for new love. The Soulmate Secret worked for me, and then it worked for thousands of my readers, and it even worked for my 80-year-old mother-in-law.
Wonderful, wonderful. And the keys to finding a soulmate, if I understand this, is removing the common blocks for finding the soulmate. Is that correct?
That's definitely a piece of it. But it's even simpler than that. It's basic law of attraction. The law of attraction states that we draw to us the people, places, and experiences that match our state of being. So if we're in a state of wanting, I want something, yearning, all we're going to attract to us is more of that state of wanting and yearning. But when we're in a state of knowing, believing, and trusting that what we've asked for is already ours, even if we can't see it, then we pull it to us. And you mentioned something really important a minute ago, that family can be soulmates. So the place I like people to begin is to start and identify the love that they already have in their life today, the soulmate relationships that already exist. It could be your children, your parents, your siblings, your coworkers, business partners. Look at Oprah and Gayle King. Are they not soulmate best friends?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right? So when you start to notice the soulmates that you already have and consciously give more attention, more appreciation for that love, then you become a magnet for more love.
Now, one of the things that I find constantly in my work is that the feeling of unworthiness to be loved. How do we deal with that?
You know, that we all have some of that at some point in our life, and that's sort of what makes you ready for soulmate love, because soulmates heal each other. So you need to have a certain degree of self-love and knowing that you're deserving of love, which you are, just as you deserve to be able to breathe and eat and drink and have basic human rights. There is more than enough love on the planet for everybody, but you do not have to be perfect in order to manifest love. In fact, being imperfect is what qualifies you for love.
Well, one of the things I worry about, though, is that we think of our mate as fixing us. We can't do that, can we?
No, just as we can't fix anybody else.
Okay.
So really, if you're really feeling super damaged or hurt or wounded in a very deep way, as if you're not capable of carrying on a relationship, this is why God invented therapists and coaches.
Okay.
There are plenty of good people out there to work you through some of the deeper wounds. Just like when my computer breaks down, I do not get out a screwdriver and attempt to fix it. I know that I don't have a clue how to fix my computer. If you've been suffering with certain issues for many years and you haven't been able to fix them yourself, well, then ask somebody for a little bit of help. There's no reason to spend your life alone because you're holding on to old wounds or old belief systems that say that you're not worthy of love.
One of the ways we understand our old belief systems is if we keep doing the same mistake the same way. So how do we find out that we have old limiting belief systems? Just look at our life? How would we realize that?
Well, I would say if what you want, if what your desire is to share your life with a beloved, with a sacred partner, and they're not there, and your attempts in the past have failed, you would say that's an area that you might need to take a little bit of look at. And in the Soulmate Secret, I begin the book with a chapter on forgiveness, because I believe we first need to forgive ourselves for all the ways we are making ourselves wrong and guilty for having done relationship wrong in the past. And then there's a good chance there's a handful of people that you've been judging as having made, having done you wrong, that you need to forgive. Because these manifestation tools and techniques and prayers and rituals are very, very powerful. So you don't want to begin using them until you've done these forgiveness processes. Because if you do, you're only going to bring in more of what didn't work in the past.
And what... Okay, so the forgiveness, I love that, because one of the things I always say is that forgiving is only for giving. So we can, if we've been wounded in the past with past relationships, that doesn't stop us to a good soulmate, but would our past relationships be part of our lesson and our teachings?
Absolutely. Our past is what qualifies us for our future. There was a TV series on a few years ago called The Starter Marriage.
Okay.
And really think of all your relationships as starter relationships. What have you learned from them? Who have you become out of them? I know for me, I didn't manifest my soulmate till I was 43. I was a first-time bride at 44. But every relationship I had up until that point made me so ready and made me so clear about the type of relationship I wanted, the traits and qualities that I desired to have in a mate. And I wouldn't have the great marriage that I have today had I not suffered through some of those difficult relationships earlier in my life.
So it's actually the suffering through the relationships that help you to improve and get better. We learn from our past?
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know what? Everybody essentially gets dumped at some point in their life. It's just what happens to human beings. And you need to just get past it. Now, if you still are in love with somebody who's left you, you don't need to stop loving them. That's actually almost an impossible thing to do. But what you do need to do is stop obsessing about them. So find a little corner of your heart where you can continue to love them and cherish the memories with them. But when you catch yourself obsessing, stop. This requires that we become emotionally mature adults.
Wow.
Children
That's a big thing.
It is. It's a huge thing, and it's why so many people suffer, because they let their mind and their thoughts and their emotions run away with them, and they go down the rabbit hole and they go deep into suffering, as opposed to saying, you know what, I'm an adult now. I'm going to choose to do something about these negative feelings that I have. The first thing you want to do is actually let yourself feel them and stop suppressing them and pretending that you don't feel them. If you feel sad, it's okay to cry. If you feel seriously depressed, go get medication. Go see a professional. If you're feeling anger, find a safe way to release the anger. But release it. Set an egg timer for 3 or 5 minutes and put all your attention on those emotions. Let them go. And then find a way to choose happier, more positive thoughts. And there are lots of techniques for doing this. There's the Sedona method. There's emotional freedom techniques called tapping. There's the heart math, heart lock-in techniques. And if you just go on the Internet, you can learn all of these things for free. But you first have to want to learn to be an emotionally mature adult and have some say over your thoughts and feelings.
You know, one of the things that we were going on in this area where there was some violence, and as we're finding violence in the world, is sometimes we're made to feel upset, we're made to feel bad because we have anger for those who perpetrated the violence. I believe, as you do, that you have to really relate the anger, correct?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we're projecting out there, and it's triggering, internal anger. So you're not really angry about what you think you're angry about. It may be that some political figure is, making your blood pressure rise. But, if you check in, it may be some earlier figure in your life that you're still holding a grudge against. I'm not a trained psychotherapist,
right,
so I'm probably not the best person on this subject, but I certainly spent enough time in therapy to know that, anger is a big issue, and it needs to be understood and expressed, and certainly, moderated, so you're not spewing it all over the place. But these are issues we need to look at.
And you don't want to carry it to your next relationship. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a little break, Arielle, right now. We'll be right back with you. I am talking to Arielle Ford. She has written The Soulmate Secret. It's a very interesting book, and it'll help you to find the relationship you need. She also has a wonderful website for The Soulmate Secret. We'll get that information in a few minutes. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. We'll be right back. You stay here. This is where you grow and become better with each breath you take. You are on the right place at the right time. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Now you can find us at psychicsuzanna.com, where you get a free question, or you can go to 1110 KFAB, where all of the shows we do are cataloged, so you can listen to them. Today we have a very interesting guest with us. She has written a book called The Soulmate Secret that I believe just came out in paperback. What we're talking about is how to find our soulmate, how to find love in our life. Welcome to the studio, Arielle.
Thank you.
Arielle, as you, in our earlier talk, we were talking about the forgiveness factor and the letting go of the past. Can we reach a real soulmate? Can we be happy in a relationship if we're still carrying the past with us?
Well, we always have the past with us. The question is, how much attention are we putting on it? When you're in a relationship, you want to have your energy freed up to put your love and time and attention on your partner. So yes, the past is never going to leave us. We need to forgive and let go. We don't necessarily have to forget, but we do need to forgive and let go.
Okay. So if we're wanting our soulmate, one of the things you prescribe in your book is living as if. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, another way to say living as if is fake it till you make it.
I love that one.
Yeah, and it works. So what you want to do is when you're living as if, your behavior is matching your knowing. So you want to trust and know that your soulmate is on the way. And how would your actions match that? So, for instance, after I did several of the Soulmate Secret processes, such as making a soulmate wish list and creating a ritual to release it to the universe and making a vision map, I then started living as if. And what I did was I bought birthday cards for my soulmate that I would give him someday. I bought him I Love You Just Because cards. I bought tickets to concerts and plays that we would go to someday in the future. I was acting and anticipating as if I were already in the relationship. In my head, I would speak to him every day, even though I didn't know his name, I didn't know when we were going to meet. I was already engaged in the relationship. That's what I mean by living as if. Another way people have done it, there's one woman I know who really enjoys gourmet cooking. So several nights a week, she would cook a gourmet dinner for two. She would set a beautiful table with candles and flowers and music. And within 6 months, her soulmate was sitting at the table with her.
Wow. Wow. So when you start the procedure, how long would you say it takes to manifest the soulmate? Is there a time period?
There's actually not a time frame. I've seen some people do it in as little as a day, and other people as long as 2 years. My 80-year-old mother-in-law did it in 3 weeks.
Wow.
She had been married for 55 years. Mm-hmm. She'd been a widow for 5 years, and then one day she called and said she was ready for a new relationship. What I explained the Soulmate Secret to her, and 3 weeks later she called me up and she said, "I've got a date." It's like, well, how did that happen? And she told me this story about how a much younger friend of hers had come over with her laptop, and they got onto Match.com, and there were 3 men in the over 80 category. One was a retired attorney like her dear departed husband, and her friend sent an email to this gentleman named John and gave him Peggy's phone number because she didn't do email. She didn't have a computer. He called her. They spoke for 3 hours. They went for lunch the next day. They fell madly in love, and they were together for 3.5 years until he passed away last summer.
Wow. What a wonderful romance. So there is no age limit to finding love.
No, there's actually no limits. I know a lot of people are running around out there with the belief that I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too broke, I'm too damaged, or this is my favorite, all the good ones are taken. Mm-hmm. And none of these things are true. There are 7 billion people alive on the planet today. Half of them are single. The odds are completely in your favor that there are plenty of potential soulmates for you.
Oh, my gosh, you don't hear that, Arielle.
And it's the truth.
My Lord, you don't hear it. You hear this thing, well, after 50, there's only so many that you can get.
No, and it's not true. And the truth is you only need one romantic soulmate at a time. It's not like you need 10. We're talking about one. Mm-hmm. So the preparation isn't about what's happening in the world. It's about what's happening inside of you. And for that, it requires having clarity and intention, clarity around the traits and qualities you wish your soulmate to possess. Do you want somebody who's open, willing, and available for a long-term, committed, monogamous relationship? Somebody who's honest, kind, compassionate, fun, adventurous, whatever those words are for you, the things that are going to make your heart sing. It's not about putting in an order for, I need a guy who's 6'2", 180 pounds, size 10 shoe, blue eyes, whatever. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the heart qualities. Mm-hmm. What are the heart qualities you're going to bring to the relationship and that you desire your soulmate bring? And then look and see what will your lifestyle together look like? Where will you live? I live in San Diego. I was very clear I always wanted to live in San Diego. So on my soulmate wish list, it said my soulmate already lives in San Diego or will be willing to move.
Okay.
I met my husband at the Portland, Oregon airport. He moved to San Diego so fast it made my head spin.
Wow, how wonderful. So you make the list. You make the list of what you're willing to, what you want in your heart to be with you. Okay.
What's going to contribute to your long-term happiness? And then once you write out this list, and you do need to write it out, then ask a trusted friend to review it for you to make sure you didn't leave out any deal breakers, anything really important.
What would be a deal breaker?
Well, let's say I'm a cat lover. So for me, a deal breaker would have been somebody who doesn't like cats, or even worse, somebody who's allergic to cats.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that was on my list. Must be a cat lover. If you're somebody who's a couch potato, you probably don't want to be matched up with somebody who trains for marathons and triathlons.
You got a point there, yes.
Right? If you're a non-smoker who does yoga every day and eats vegetarian food and is into health and fitness, it's pretty sure you don't want somebody who's an alcoholic and a smoker.
You betcha.
So those are deal breakers. That's why this is actually the hardest part of the process. People think it's the easiest. Well, I know what I want. But truthfully, it's really looking deep into your heart about what is going to contribute to your long-term happiness.
Well, now, how long can this list be, or how short should it be, or is there like a,
there are varying opinions on that. My list was 48 items long.
48 items, and you found him in an airport.
He had 46 of the 48.
I love that.
Including, I did have on my list that he would have gray hair. And I actually don't know why, but every time I imagined my soulmate, I saw him with gray hair. And when I met Brian, that was one of the ways I knew he was my soulmate. He had gray hair. He had gone gray in his 30s.
Oh, my Lord. How wonderful. So you're saying we have to sort of put in our mind what we want to have. We have to write it down on paper. What's the focus of putting it down on paper?
Well, there have been some studies that show that when you commit something to paper, that it triggers some things in your brain that actually set you up to make it happen. Successful people always write down their goals. So that's really part of the thinking. But the next step to it is to let go of the list. So once you have the list, then I suggest you write it out on a very beautiful piece of stationery and create a ritual to surrender it to the universe, to let it go. And there are lots and lots of ways to do that. I took my list down to the ocean. I said a prayer of gratitude over it. I thanked God for sending me my perfect right partner. And then I burned the list and I scattered the ashes into the ocean. But if that sounds really strange, you could stick your list in your Bible, your favorite spiritual book, under your mattress, under your pillow. If you have an
But you
altar
don't
in
look
your
at
home.
it daily.
You do not look at it every day. Think of it this way. When you plant a garden, you go out, you till the soil, you put in the seeds, you add fertilizer and water, but you don't go out there 3 weeks later in the middle of the night and start pulling on the leaves, saying to the tomato plant, grow faster, right?
Right.
You trust that Mother Nature will do her job. And so we ask to trust God or the universe or whatever you call the higher power to deliver your perfect right partner to you.
This has been a really wonderful conversation about how to find love in your life. Arielle, tell us how we find you and where we can get more information. Besides picking up the book, which I thought was really handy. I saw it in Barnes & Noble's yesterday. Right out there on the counter. You can find it. Yeah, go ahead.
The books in bookstores everywhere, all the online bookstores. And I'm giving away some free gifts online. So if you go to soulmatesecretbook.com, soulmatesecretbook.com, you can order the book from that site. I think it's less than $9 at Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com, and also get free gifts so you can begin manifesting instantly. And I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/Soulmate Secret.
Okay. Thank you for joining us here, and thank you for being our guest. This is Arielle Ford, the author of Soulmate Secret. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna. We will be right back with your calls.
Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. She knew I was going to say that.
Yes, you're right where you need to be. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Yes, this is the show where you can find out about yourself. You can find ways to empower yourself to make every day better and every moment better with the knowledge you get on this station and the knowledge you get on this show. We are here for you. Please find us at PsychicSuzanna.com where you can send a question. Also, go to KFAB.com where you can hear this Arielle Ford interview. And it'll be probably put up by Tuesday or Wednesday, and we can talk about it and we can pass it on, how to find the love. What a great interview that was. You know, one of the things we talk about when we find love, and I want you to understand, because when I appear in the bars, that's one of the biggest questions. Where is my mate? How do I find love? I need you to understand that before we choose life, we choose our mates. And in our mind, we may have a feeling that we need to be in love right now. But if we are not emotionally, spiritually, and physically aligned with the right man, he can't come forward. If you, by any ways, put yourself down, say negative things to yourself, nobody can love you if you can't love yourself. So I want you to be aware of that. Your love is your destiny, but first you have to have love of yourself. And before we go to what we post every month on the Facebook, on the KFAB webpage, where you can check it out, I want you to join us on Facebook at Life with Psychic Suzanna, where you'll have all the shows that are coming up. Our Susanna Stickney to find out what's going on in my life. And then we'll take your calls. The numbers again, Jim, are?
Yeah, 1-800-543-1110 for those folks that want to put it on our dime. Or you can do the local call, 558-1110.
Okay.
And I'll be glad to, get them all set up. Put them on hold.
That's all they have to do is give us a call at those numbers. Right now, though, Jim, we went to the KFAB website.
I sure did.
And you strolled down on the side of the page where it says...
The Psychic Suzanna page.
The Psychic Suzanna page.
Yeah.
And each month we put out something. So what did we put out for February?
February. It goes like this. Yes, the pressure is on. It's February. We have to show love to our mate. But what if we don't have a mate? And we really have to show our love. Do we really have to? Yes, I suppose. If what we give out is what we get, showing love could be a huge benefit. But instead of showing love to one, how about all who cross our path in a day? Sometimes a kind word or a smile to a stranger can make their day.
Amen.
Yeah, that is good.
And
the affirmation?
The affirmation.
February affirmation. I will show loving kindness to all I meet.
And there's a story about a girl who... was walking home from school. She was a loner all the time, and she was fumbling around with so many books. And up comes a boy who came up to her and said, "May I help carry your books?" And he helped her carry the books. Well, about a year later, they saw each other again, and she thanked him because of that kindness that he showed her. She didn't do suicide that night. Sometimes all we need is to know that we're cared about and that there are someone, a stranger, can give us more than we need in one kind, random act of kindness. So please, in the month of February, don't look for someone just to love you alone. Look for someone that you can love. Look for someone that you can help. And look for someone who you can make their day better. There are a couple of things I want to tell you before we go to the phones. And one of them is that love is like a seed. You can't go out and you can't look at. When Arielle was talking about planting the seed in your mind, you can't go back a week later and dig it up to see if it was still there. You trust God to support you. That's how it works. And the other thing that Arielle was talking about is tapping. And guess who we have coming on the show? Yes, I'll tell you the rundown of the shows later, but we have someone who is going to come on who's a tapping